Okie dokie. What we're doing here is trying to fit a fuel cell. I mismeasured, ordered it. It's too wide, doesn't fit. Cut the lower lip on this rear panel here to slide it so we could drop it down instead of it sitting on top of that. So it would hang underneath the back of the car a little bit, which Angel doesn't know until just now. By, I don't know, not too much. So anyway, it fits now. There's room to put the fittings on the fuel cell and everything like that. And there's a gap there. However, we don't know if the taillights are gonna fit because obviously the taillights are gonna go in this back panel and they need like an inch and a half-ish of clearance. So, before we commit to putting the fuel cell here, I'm gonna install the taillights into the panel here, as you can see. And then if they don't fit and there's not enough room, there is about a ½ inch of room to cut out this back, cut a square out of that and slide the tank forward until it hits the rear cross member in the frame. And so that will be what we'll have to do in that case. But I don't know until I get the taillights in, that's what I'm trying to say. Taillights. The taillights of choice are these 356 Porsche taillights. Be running a set of duals on each side, but you get the idea. Are those plastic? I thought they were glass.
I know they're plastic.
I thought they were glass. What did you get? Throw these away. Garbage. So anyway, I've got them centered in this panel from top to bottom. ½ inch in from the sides. Ish. ½ inch in between the lights. And now I'll drill some holes and we'll be committed to this. Unless we, buy a different panel or do something. So I decided to check. I wanted to see if this spacing was right. Turns out these 4 holes, 2 of the sets are further in than these other 2. And I used the wrong set of holes to mark this. So the lights wouldn't fit if I put them in. These holes are off. See, hole there, no hole there. Different. I need it on this one, so good thing I checked before I drilled the rest. I'm gonna weld these 2 holes up and start over. Weld it up, gonna grind those down, remark my holes, and drill some more. So, every time I do stuff like this, it's apparent to me, which I already knew, that I need to stick to Bondo and paint. Preferably just Bondo, I don't like painting. Anyway, so I got that. The center hole still needs to be drilled out bigger for these. However, where I drilled the holes for these 2 mounting bolts, it puts these screws on the top and the bottom. I'd rather they be like that. So I need to drill these holes, here, not there where I did them all. Now, so I'm gonna re-drill those. So this will be like that. However, I'm not gonna weld these holes all up. I'm just gonna leave them there. So I don't know, I might weld them up later. I don't know. For now, I'm just gonna keep drilling holes and get these in there like that. Can't believe I did that. What an idiot. I can believe I did that, actually. So can everybody else. Got it. First try. So smooth. Everything went according to plan. I did end up welding those extra holes up, as I knew I would. Anyway, I got 2 more lights to put. Well, kind of welded them up. You can see I don't think you can see light through there. Yep, good. Anyway, let me get these other lights mounted on there and then we'll put it on the car and see if the fuel cell fits. All right, so they're on. There's room. I took a little video, holding you can't see, but I put my phone down there and held it and took video of it. This one would be close, but it's on the outside of the tank. but the panel bows as it goes towards the middle, and there is room between the inner one and the tank, so that'll work. We don't have to move the tank, we can make mounts for it right there. So that's cool. I've got the fan fit in there, plenty of room. The only thing about these Delta PAG fans is they got this, and then they got this big control box situation. So I'll have to hide this inside the grill shell as good as I can. They don't really give you much wiring as far as mounting this very far away, so I could extend the wires and put this inside the car under the dash somewhere, or try to fit it inside the grill shell. We'll see. But so that's figured out for the most part. The steering already figured out. We got the brake pedal figured out. We just have to weld a mount for this on this side of that pedal. The gas pedal is already figured out. We had that in, but we took it out. Training tunnel's coming along. Fuel cell. So I need to get a shifter next and figure out the shifter, and then some seat rails. I'm gonna get some sliding seat rails. And we're getting close. I want to do the fuel system just so I can get the motor started or temporary wired up. That's why I need the fan on here, because it's new. Need to break that in, make sure that's good. And once we do that, it'll almost be time to tackle the body. Take this apart, tear it down, send the frame out to be powder coated, start on the whatever metal work is left on the body. I know there's rust in the bottoms of the doors, and I gotta make this deck lid fit the body panel, and I got some holes on the outside to fix. I gotta spread the body apart and make the gaps right. None of this stuff is attached anymore, because when Derek chopped it, he took it all apart. And so there's plenty of body related stuff to do, but all the hard to figure out stuff, it's pretty much figured out. So pretty cool. You can see here this panel has a bow in it. I'll show you here. But the deck lid doesn't really have so much. So I'm gonna make some cuts in here and push that in. If I had a shrinker stretcher, I could just run it on this edge and shrink that up a little bit and do it, but I don't. So cutty. I wouldn't shrink that. I would stretch it to make it go flat. I would do one or the other, I can tell you that much. But right now, all I know is I'm gonna cut it. So I made one cut, and as you can see, the deck is messed up. I have to weld a rod on the edge of it and weld it back together, but you can see it no longer has a bow in it. I just did that one cut. So I can weld that back together, or I can wait and do some work on this. As you can see, it needs plenty. And see what it needs after that. So that's where we're at there. Now let's remember that this isn't necessarily, or I know this isn't the right way to do this. you know, this skin, it doesn't have the lip on it from there to there anymore. But so somebody better than me, or if I wanted to, I would do something else than what I'm gonna do. But you can see my gap here. I'm going to take this piece of welding rod and weld it on the bottom of this and make a gap. And then I'll decide what I'm gonna do to the inside to make it look good after that. But that'll give me a round edge. I can grind it to fit. I'm gonna have a gap right here, obviously. I can't show you, but I'm gonna have a gap right there. I can fill that in after the fact. I can do some stuff, but I'm gonna do some stuff. That's what I was trying to say. Is it the right stuff? No, it is not. Is it gonna work? Probably. Bondo makes everything look good, so I might have to add a piece right here. I can add a piece after I get the bottom of the welding rod on. I could always cut a piece out. And I should cut it off and make a new bottom lip for it. I'm just gonna quit talking about this and just do something, because it'll be fine, whatever I do. That I can assure you. So the first thing I did is where this skin was, where it still had that inner lip that's folded over, where it was still there, but it was split apart, I welded the edge back together, and then I kind of welded that back together where it was really missing a piece, just to give it some strength. And now I'm gonna weld that welding rod to the bottom. So, as you can see, I've been welding that round rod on, and it's getting there. I'm a little low from here to here. I still have too big of a gap. What you can do there is I could just run a bead of weld on the edge of that, or I can get a smaller welding rod and weld on top of that one. I should have spaced that rod down right here. It curved up. I pushed it too close to the deck lid when I welded it on. I should have left a gap and then just bridged the gap. Because that rod was straight, I should have welded it on straight and the gap would have been the same. But that's not what I did, obviously. So I'm gonna address that, and that'll be looking pretty good. And then I can pull it off and address the back side of that. And then I also have to mess with the gaps on the sides. And, you know, as far as this closing all the way to fit down low enough here, which will also change that gap, but this side's fine, this side's up a little bit. Still, you know, I'm doing stuff. But, yeah. So, more welding. Anyways, it's, sorry, I'm reading text that are popping up on my screen as I'm taking this video, so. Forgot what I was talking about. This is looking better. Bondo will make it perfect. Don't worry about that. I keep telling you not to worry. Like anybody's worried about this. I'm not worried about this. Are you worried about this? Okay. Well, that's where I ended up for now. Way better than it was, and that's actually pretty good. I can shave that down a little bit more once I gotta get the latch on and see where it's actually gonna close. But like I said, that welding rod that's on the bottom of that now is solid, so you can grind into that and finalize your gap. But yeah, Not too bad. There's plenty of work to do to the rest of this deck lid. It, feels like someone drove over it, and not to mention the bullet holes. But and then I got to fix the side gaps, which this one's just a little tight right there. I can move the whole thing over, and then maybe have to do something with that bottom on the side. But that's it for now. That's the progress this weekend. By myself out here, so I didn't get a whole lot done because, there's nothing to smear Bondo on. So did what I could, and that's something I wanted to get done. It's been bugging me since we got this thing. And yeah, now I can finalize the rest of the gaps, take it off, and address that inner lip on the bottom side. So yeah, guess next is to finish the brake pedal. Yeah, make a fuel cell mounting system. It's got to drop out the bottom. I don't want to have to take this panel off after the car's done. So that's how I took it out. I just jacked the car up and dropped it out the bottom. So I'll have to make some kind of panel that comes off. So, or something, stuff. We'll have to do some stuff. And yeah, I guess we'll be back. I'm gonna clean up my mess.